Hello fellow travelers! In this video we'll take a look at Spiral Abyss we got with version 4.3. Once again, floor 11 starts with the Monolith Chamber, so your damage and killing speed are irrelevant here, and it's all about crowd control. So taunts will help you preserve some health on the Monolith, as well as pushing, pulling and lifting abilities. This time the entire Chamber 1 is just a walk in a park. Enemies are pretty weak and spawn in small groups. All of them are immune to their own elements, but as long as you bring the other ones, or at least several elements to work with, and keep enemies busy, you should be fine. The same is true for second half, and here I can only add that mimics are extremely vulnerable to one of the elements. Mallards to Cryo, Cranes to Electro, and Boars to Pyro. Oh, and if you struggle to aggro all three boars at once, don't worry, because if they charge at the monolith, they actually deal damage only once, but get stuck for a while in the process, so it's not that big of a deal. First half of Chamber 2 is all about counter elements. Hydro and Pyro are the best options against Pyro and Cryo shields respectively, and against Electro one, Pyro, Cryo and Dendro are equally efficient. So once again, bringing multiple elements is your best bet here, but swirling shields into each other is a pretty good option too. Ruin Graders that come next shouldn't be a challenge either, as long as you pay attention and dash in time to iframe their attacks, but they have high physical resistance, so it's better to rely mainly on elemental damage to speed things up. Hilichurls in second half have high Hydro resistance. They fight in melee, so they'll stack up nicely, but they hit pretty hard, especially if your characters are not fully built yet, so stay focused to avoid being hit, or just bring shields or healing to negate the damage, or even taunts to make them busy for a bit. Ruin Drakes, just like any other Ruin enemies, have increased physical resistance. They also absorb an element they take the most damage from during the fight, but simply having an archer or any other option to quickly hit their weak spot is enough to stun them and interrupt this move. Mechs in Chamber 3 don't really have any strong sides or vulnerabilities, aside from the fact that you can use Usia characters to disable some of their attacks. It's more relevant against Construction Specialist because its spinning attack is very annoying, but you can simply bring shields or any other poise buffs instead to have easier time there. In second half we have a Terror Shroom boss. If you want to learn more about it, I have a proper, very detailed video for that, which you can find in description. Here I'll just remind you that aggravate teams work best against Terror Shroom, and the main time save here is unfortunately just praying that you won't get a running and rage attack. The best thing you can do is to run behind the boss when it's about to enrage to not get hit by its melee combo. Here are the teams that I used, but overall floor 11 is pretty easy, and aside from Terror Shroom doesn't require any specific counters, so there are plenty of options that would work just as well. Floor 12 is not that bad either in this version, there's just not many things that you can exploit. First chamber opens up with Perpetual Mechanical Array, and there is not much you can do about it to get an advantage. It has increased physical resistance, so elemental damage of any kind is the best way to go here, but unfortunately the main time save is just getting lucky. Once PMA summons 4 different minions, it picks one of them at random that you actually have to kill to progress the fight, the one with Rune Ring and HP bar. But 2 of them have 40% more HP than the others, so you gotta win 50-50 here to save some time. But at least after that, the boss gets resistance debuff and will be stunned for a while, so try to get back your energy and important cooldowns for this moment to maximize your damage. Thunder Manifestation in second half is also quite random dependent boss. It's immune to Electro but has permanent Electro aura, which you can exploit for free reactions by using Dendro, Pyro, Cryo or even Geo. The main problem here is that the boss likes to teleport all over the arena, so ranged combat will make chasing it a lot easier, while stationary abilities might not be as effective. Boss also often just flies up, which makes it even more difficult for melee characters to hit it, and attacks which specifically hit the ground, like Yanfei's charged attack for example, might also completely miss. First half of Chamber 2, despite having multiple enemies listed, throws them at you one by one, so single target damage is still preferable here. Construction Specialist, as always, is quite annoying with its spinning attack, so either use Usia characters to disable it, or simply bring some shields or other poise increasing buffs to tank through it. All of the ruin enemies that come next have high physical resistance, so elemental damage will work better here. But other than that, there is not much to say about them, and you've probably killed like hundreds of them by now anyway. Second half starts with Geospecters and Slimes, and in order to deal with Geoshields you need to bring blunt damage, which comes primarily in form of claymores, plunging attacks and explosions, including overload reaction. Also note that slimes become way less aggressive once you break their shields and even try to keep their distance from you, so pulling abilities might come in handy here to keep them together. Geo-Bishops that come next like to move a lot, and they're quite big to fight them both at once. However, they are susceptible to stagger, so your best bet is to fight them near the wall and protect yourself with a shield to stun them if they decide to roll into you. They also absorb Hydro and Pyro on low HP, gaining permanent infusion and extra resistance to those, but it usually shouldn't matter much. Finally, you'll have to deal with two lava churls. If you run towards one of them, the other one will just jump at you, so stacking them is not a problem. Their Geo-Shields, however, greatly empower their attacks. They are similar to the ones of Geoslimes, so blunt damage helps against those too. Although in this case, shields don't grant lava churls any extra protection, so breaking those won't directly speed up the process, but it should make the fight much easier since they lose their powerful attacks. In first half of Chamber 3, we'll have to deal with Hydra Tulpa. It has permanent Hydro Aura, which you can abuse for free vaporize with Pyro, a lot more Dendro Cores with Dendro, or even Crystallize with Geo, which might significantly improve your survivability, because this boss hits hard. And don't forget that it will be twice as hard if you're a fellow Bennett enjoyer. Tulpa also periodically summons little copies of itself, which are not really dangerous, but the boss can consume them to grow, increasing own resistance and enhance the next couple of attacks. So it's better to deal with the copies using Hydro-related reactions when you get the chance, or at least when the boss is about to consume them. Note that the main one has higher attack priority, so it's better to deal with the little ones using some kind of AoEs or abilities that you can easily aim at them. And finally, Tulpa occasionally makes a dive to reposition itself, so stationary abilities should be well timed here to stay effective. Second half starts with Electro Lava Churls duo, and you can stack them right away if you simply run back to the edge and let them come at you. Just as with Geo ones, their shields don't give protection, but instead greatly empower them, so breaking these shields will make the fight much easier, and Pyro, Cryo or Dendro are the best options to do so. Then you'll be up against Eremite duo, which have increased resistance and basically immunity to crowd control until you deal with their pets. The Pyro one can teleport at you, bringing her pet along, so you can stack them all together if you stay away from her for a bit. Remember that pets are vulnerable to their own elements, so as Eremites themselves, while they're stunned after you kill the pets, which is yet another reason to bring Pyro or Dendro. Here are the teams that were good enough to deal with Chambers 1 and 3, but for Chamber 2 I had to simply replace Yanfei with Sucrose for second half to save extra time on the first wave. Anyway, that's all I have for you this time, fellow travelers. Good luck with your runs and have a great rest of your day.